Hey, and welcome to You in the Spotlight show. My name is Mihaela Vlad. I am your host. I am an advertising strategist for women who are building their personal brand. And in this show, I aim to bring you inspiration and strategies on how to get more reach and how to convert your followers. So stay tuned. We are going to have fun. We are going to have amazing guests. And guess what? You are going to learn a lot of things from here. Let me present you to our audience.
Yes.
Okay? So I have with me Traci Cornelius. She's a speaker, podcaster, business coach, mindset coach, financial educator to families and moms. To families, and she's a mom of 5 girls. And Traci have a story to tell us, and I'm gonna let her to tell us more.
Yeah, so thank you very much.
You and your business and your life. Tell me your story and how did you end up doing this, what you're doing now? Because
Yes.
I have a great story, because I know you speak in the past, and I'm so excited to share your story with the people that will see this.
Thank you. Well, thank you for that great introduction as well. And it is really, really good to be here, and it's great to be with you. So thank you. And yes, my story isn't really a very succinct one, but then I kind of liken that to life and business in itself. There are so many different twists and turns, and you never know where that's going to end up. But if I take you right the way back to the beginning, I was kind of brought up in a very challenging, confusing, and often volatile environment. And one of the challenges with that is that we often hear about physical abuse and sexual abuse. And whilst I experienced both of those, one thing that's not spoken about very much is psychological abuse. And psychological abuse is relentless. And I went through that for years and years and years and years. And the hard part is, when I was younger, my opinion of myself was actually very different than the opinion that everybody else was trying to put on me. But you can only go through so much before you start believing what other people say about you. And so one of the reasons why I do mindset coaching is because I wholeheartedly believe that you are not the conditioning that somebody else put on you, that you're not the limitations that somebody else put on you, that you're not the perception that their insecurities are putting on you. And actually that you can get through, overcome, and be in control of your own life, no matter what the circumstances that you've been through. Now, that realization didn't come straight away. That would have been great, wouldn't it? That would have been great. Just go from childhood into adulthood and go, yeah, I realize what's going on. There were so many different twists and turns. And actually, one of the biggest areas that I learned about myself and mindset was actually through business. So when I first got into business, my partner was a pilot. He would work away a lot. And I had Kaisha, who was extremely young at the time. So your normal 9 to 5 didn't really fit our circumstances. So I was stuck because I was thinking, well, what is it that I do? And that's when I really first came across being self-employed. And I was so incredibly naive, like really naive at that point in time. And I got involved in a network marketing company. It wasn't the network marketing company where my naivety shone through. It was what was attached to it. There were these people that said, you know what, we do all the marketing for you and all you do is pay this money. And so I spent out a lot of money, and if I'd have known then what I know now, I would have known that that wasn't marketing. So I ended up...
You never know until you leave.
Exactly. And you don't know what you don't know. So you tend to try, if you're as naive as I was. I mean, I was what? 23, 24, I think, when I very first started. So yeah, there was a real naivety that, oh, well, these people must know what they're doing, so I just trust them. Mm-hmm. And after that, I swore I'd never run another business because it really left my family in such a precarious situation. We weren't struggling financially before, but by gosh, we were now struggling. And I'd done that. And I felt such a sense of guilt, shame. I really felt as if I'd been completely stupid. And you know, when you start a business, you've probably experienced this yourself, and so will your listeners, that everyone is like, well, you're crazy. You just need to go and get a job. You know, what are you kind of playing at? All of these insecurities that they have themselves that they put onto you. And now I'm in this situation where I'm like, oh my gosh, they're all right.
Yes.
And I'm going to have to face them with their kind of smugness of being told you so. And I found that, I found that really hard. And so I thought, right, well, I'm just going to do whatever I can do to bring in some money. And I worked for a cleaning company. I could do that in between my children, or Kaisha at the time. And the person running the company very early on saw that I was much more than your normal cleaner. And she wanted me to go into business with her. And I kept saying no. I'd been put off so much that I just kept going, no. Anyway, about 6 or 7 months in, and I'm thinking, hang on a second. Actually, if I was running the company, I'd be earning this amount of money, as opposed to cleaning, which is earning this amount of money. So I swallowed my pride of messing up before and became a business partner. That was a huge learning curve. Really good learning curve. It was a really good learning curve in knowing how to work with another person, working with their strengths, and understanding where your weaknesses are and communicating that openly enough to run an effective company. The other aspect that I really learned from that was hiring staff. So here my naivety shone through again, because I would have people that would come to me saying that, you know, they're just about to lose their house and they're in a desperate situation. And the one thing that I was very adamant that I would always do was the training. I would always train, and I'll explain a little bit more about why that in a moment. So I would do the training and I would do the interviewing. And what I would do with these people is I'd say, right, okay, well, no problem at all. Let's fit you in for a trial of training. I'd move everything in my schedule, and then they wouldn't turn up. And I had such a hard work ethic that in my mind, I thought, oh my gosh, something's gone wrong. Like something's happened to them. And so I'd be calling and then there'd be no answer. And I was that naive that I'd actually call hospitals, because the road or the dual carriageway where in that area was notorious for serious road accidents. I quickly discovered that actually some people just wouldn't turn up. And it was very, very...
The same ethic like you used to have, like you've had.
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing is, when you've gone through hardship, you work hard because you know that nothing is going to be gifted to you. So you have it ingrained in you that if you want something, you have to go out there and get it. And I quickly realized that not everybody had the same work ethic. So that was another big learning curve for me. Another learning curve was helping people to feel worthy. You know, in the cleaning industry, a lot of people don't treat you with respect. And actually that's quite hard. So I would feel like it was part of my job to, one, educate our clients on how their cleaners should be treated, but also to help empower our cleaners to know that they're worth anything. And if this is a stopgap for them, then so be it. Let us help you to get to wherever you need to be. And actually I've got some firm friends that I still have today because of that ethic, which is fantastic. So running the cleaning company, my business partner had some personal issues that she had to deal with. So she removed herself from the company. I said, take as long as you like. And I built the company up from going from domestic to domestic and commercial. I got all of the council contracts. And then she came back and said, I'm moving to Spain. Which I was like, woohoo, that's fantastic. And I decided that I wasn't going to continue on with the company. And the reason for that was because the amount of times I would be let down, that I'd have people call and say the cleaners haven't turned up. And on commercial contracts, that's even worse. So on one particular occasion, I'd had this call. I literally just picked Kaisha up from school. Nick is away. I don't have any friends or family that I can just go, could you just look after her for a few hours? So I remember taking her in and literally hiding her under a desk until I could finish. And halfway through cleaning this building, I was just like, this is not what I got into business for. I got into business because I really wanted to support my family. I wanted to spend more time with it. I wanted a better quality of life. And here I am hiding my 5-year-old underneath a desk. And I was just like, there's something so wrong on this. So I sold the company, but the amount that I learned from it was really good. But at that point, because I was still probably mid-20s, I don't know if you were similar in your mid-20s, everything was either this or that. It was so black and white. There wasn't a lot of gray areas. Maturity and experience has led me to know that there's more gray areas and you can make small shifts. But in my mid-20s, it was like all or nothing. So I was like, right, now I'm not going to do a business where I've got to hold staff. So I started another business. This one was my pride and joy. It was literally built from nothing. This was in the crafting industry. I was very good in the crafting industry. I could design a lot of products. I made a lot of embellishments. I did all those types of things. I was very good at teaching and training. So I would teach other people how to do it. I quickly got noticed by some of the top crafting companies in the industry, designed products for them. I would then demonstrate around the UK and sometimes abroad to audiences of in excess of 3,000 people. It was awesome. I loved it. This is where video started for me. Mm-hmm. We'd send out my video newsletters, and this is before YouTube existed. So I had like one of those kind of Logitech cameras. They were like a little round thing on this pole. It would get streamed to America. Then it would get streamed to everybody else's inbox. And that was quite innovative at the time. And I think I shook up the industry somewhat because I did things differently to how everybody else had been doing it. I knew that if you wanted to sell a crafting product, for example, you needed to package it. And you needed to make a project. You needed to get people excited about it. You needed to get them to feel like they could do it and more. And actually, at the time, that was quite an innovative approach. But it served me well. I loved doing my roles in that. I wasn't so good in front of the camera. I was happy with being my hands, and I was happy demonstrating, because to me, I was like, well, it's all about the product. It's got nothing to do with me. I convinced myself of that for a very long time. No, it's all about the product. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I thought anybody could do this. And to a certain extent, people can. But I've since learned that actually it's a lot more to do with you as a person. So the hardship for that one came in 2009 when the recession hit. And when the recession hit, literally everybody stopped doing their hobbies, because naturally you pool your resources to put what's important as opposed to what you would like. And I remember the first day that I didn't get any orders. And I was like, that's never happened before, not even from the time that I launched. So, and then I was just convincing myself, I thought, well, that's fine. I've got enough money in the company to keep going for a little while. That's not a problem. Then the next day, there were no orders. Then the next. And then came the calls from those big companies going, we're really sorry, but we've now gone into administration. There's no more demonstration work. And that design project, you're not going to get paid for. And because everything that I had was in one industry, it felt like overnight I was suddenly top of my game, considered like a leading expert in the industry, to like nothing. And I remember being in such a desperate situation. I called my accountant. I was in tears. I was like, I don't want to be going bankrupt. And after about an hour, he said, I know that you don't want to go bankrupt, but that's what you need to do. And the time that I did, Northampton County Court, they'd opened up the whole of the bottom of the county court for bankruptcies. I was queued outside. It was insane. It's really hard to describe to people how bad that situation was. But I was the only person in that entire queue that was crying. Because I hadn't gone, or I wasn't going bankrupt because I'd gone on holiday, or I bought flashy cars, or I had like the up-to-date wardrobe. I put so much blood, sweat and tears into my company. I'd often worked many times till 2, 3 in the morning designing products, getting courses and programs together. So it was heartbreaking. And again,
but I think it's a very big lesson that you have learned from there.
Oh, massively. I mean, there's a couple of different lessons. First of all, I think never take one person's decision. Always go and get more advice. Because again, if I'd have known then what I know now, I never would have gone bankrupt. I could have quite easily have sorted the situation. And actually, that's had ramifications for years since. So if anyone is in a precarious situation like that, I would always recommend trying to find another solution. So always get other people's advice. The very important other lesson that I learned is to make sure that you diversify your income, make sure that you have multiple streams of income. And people often get confused with this, and they think, oh my gosh, well, how am I going to have time to run multiple companies? And I think I can understand where the fear of that comes in if you think you're the person that needs to be doing everything, because that's very, very hard. But actually, you can have a team of people and you can outsource and you can easily run multiple companies. If you look at the most successful people in the world today, they don't have one company. They have multiple, and they also have multiple investments.
Because if you put all your eggs in the same basket, if something happened with that particular industry, you will lose everything. But if something happened with an industry, another one can flourish.
Exactly.
You know, we live in a world where it can be ups and downs in the economy. We can't influence that. It's something that we have to be able to manage. We can't actually change it.
No, exactly.
And a great lesson to learn.
Yeah, and you'll often find that in recessions, people go bust and people boom. And likewise, when we're in affluencies, some people massively survive and some people go under. So, you know, it's much more about resourcefulness. But here's the key part to this, and this is where you come into this as well. If you want to run multiple companies, and one of the biggest lessons I think I've learned is that the company isn't about your product or your service. Your company is actually about you. And we often hear that people buy people, but if you're going to do a large scale and you're going to get investments from other people, your business model is important, but they're reliant on you. Are you going to be the person that can take the company from point A to point B? If you're going to run multiple companies and you need your products or services to sell, it's on social media and on your videos and you getting out there. It's you that people buy into.
Exactly.
And I very quickly learned that it was much more about me as a person. And that was hard for me because I've been brought up in a environment where I was nothing. I was like lower than low. I couldn't have an opinion. You wouldn't speak up. You wouldn't complain. All of these different things that were very much about keeping me small. And here I am as an adult and in business where I'm like, hey, social media, come on in. Let's do like 3-4 videos a day. And like it took a lot of mindset shifting for me to get to a place. And one of the biggest lessons that I now teach my entrepreneurs is that no matter what you're doing, it's just a conversation. So you and I here, it's just a conversation. It can go out to thousands of people, but it's just a conversation. If I'm doing a Facebook Live, it's just a conversation.
Yeah, but that conversation opened a path.
Exactly. But if you
conversations and conversions at one point.
But
the conversation.
And if you're standing on stage in front of 3,000 plus people, it's still just a conversation. Yeah. The thought process that we have that makes us really nervous is thinking that other people want somebody other than ourselves. And you're going to appeal to some and you're not going to appeal to others. And that's fine.
Yeah.
Because you were never put on the planet to please everybody. There's going to be some people, there's going to be some people that will listen to this and they'll be like, oh my gosh, yes, making so much sense. And there's going to be other people like, oh God, she's so annoying. Just let me turn it off.
That's fine.
And that's fine. Because your job, or how I see it, is no matter what product or service you sell, your whole job is to make sure that your message reaches the right people so that they can make a change in their life. That's it. It's not to reach everybody. Because even if you change...
It's an amazing advice for the woman who will listen to our show. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Because if you change one person, that's huge. The ripple effects. The reason I love doing what I do is because not only do I help people to be the best version of themselves internally, to be the best version of themselves externally, and that's working on the mindset, but also working with female entrepreneurs in particular and helping them to be successful in business has a mass ripple effect. You have a successful female entrepreneur, and then that family is then successful. She can be the better mum because she can be the mum that she wants to be, because you've got the money and the time freedom to be able to do that.
And you're not impacting one life, you're impacting more than one life.
Exactly.
impacting
And
their
that goes,
family, their children future, and
yeah,
a lot of other things that going around.
everybody that connects with you on social media, you're inspiring and empowering them and showing them that there is a different way than the original way that society keeps teaching them.
Yeah.
Which, and I mean, I could massively get onto that, and I won't be too political, but society really teaches people to be robots. It teaches people to stay in debt because then the banks make so much more money. It teaches people to be, yeah, and
they don't teach you in school how to become successful as an entrepreneur, or how to usually take your life in your hand. They teach you how to respect rules and how
yes,
to be a good employee at one point.
exactly.
The ones that are successful actually are the ones that are educate themselves to become what they
Yeah.
want to become.
Yes.
Yeah, I totally agree with you in that, and we can go on for hours in this.
We could, because it's such a deep subject. But you also mentioned something really important about self-education. And with self-education, you need to be open. And here's the wonderful thing: you will learn so much about yourself because there'll be so much resistance that you'll come up against. You know that you want changes, and you know that you want a better life or you want to be more successful, but you'll still come up with so much resistance at different points in time. And it really takes a very open mindset to, if you want to do this yourself, to recognize when you're standing in your own way. And that is why I am so incredibly passionate about sharing the messages and helping people to see the behavior patterns and the thought processes and the self-sabotage that we have, because that is what then makes the change. It's not all business strategy, but it's also not all mindset. I see all of these quotes where it say, it's 19% mindset. Well, yes and no, because you can have the best mindset in the world, but if you haven't got the right business strategies, you still won't be successful.
And the other way around, I totally agree. If you have the best business strategy, but you are still sabotaging yourself and you don't have the right mindset to go forward, you just leave that strategy on the table. You won't use it.
Exactly.
So,
and you also end up being really unhappy. The people that you see, and you'll see this all the time because you're in the social media space. You see the people and you're like, oh my gosh, you've come so far. Absolutely amazing that you've got all of these achievements, and yet they're still unhappy. That's not success.
No,
success isn't like,
sure. You have to be happy with what you do, and you have to be happy with what you have in your bank.
Yes.
Yes. Every day. If you are not waking up excited every day, you're not successful yet.
No, exactly. And if you're also not impacting enough other people's lives, because I think you get to a point where you realize that money is not the thing. Money helps because money gives you freedom in choices and experiences, and that's great. But you also realize that the impact that you want to make, actually, that's where the gold kind of happens.
Yeah.
And one of the other areas that I'm also extremely passionate on is that because I tend to work with more female entrepreneurs, because I've got 5 children. So, I think most people go, oh my gosh, if you've got lots of children, there's no way you can run a successful business. Well, I run multiple successful businesses and have 5 children. So I love the fact that I'm in that position, because it means that I can empower and inspire other women that have children, and men, because, there are some men that also do the bulk of the childcare and everything else, to know that it is possible.
Yeah.
But it's still a challenge. There's still a lot of compromises that you have to make that people that don't have children don't have to make. So I don't ever think that we can just go, yeah, it's really easy and all you got to do is X, Y, Z, because you need to be very fluid. My day can change literally by the morning. Like if I've woken up and I've got all of my meetings planned and I've got all of my interviews planned and I've got all of my day planned out, and all the outsourcers know what they're doing, my team know what they're doing, and then suddenly one of my children is ill, the first conversation is always between Mark and I, right? Which one of us is going to be the person that can take care of the child? And inevitably it's always me, because he's employed. And one, he can't just call up and go, I can't come in today.
Yes.
And I know that because I used to work in the same company. I worked as a trainer. And one of the periods of time that I got to was when I needed to change my working hours to help Kaisha. And I originally worked 10 until 6, and I wanted to change it from to 8 until 4. And they let me do it for 2 weeks, and then they went, actually, you know what? We're not going to allow that anymore. Kaisha was 12, I think. No, maybe a little bit younger. She might have even been 11. She's having to reheat her meals and eat by herself. That's heartbreaking. Absolutely heartbreaking. So I also understand when people feel like they're stuck in this situation. So you might be also attracting an audience where they are already employed and they want more flexibility. And that's why 70% of new businesses in the UK at the moment are being opened by women.
Sorry?
That's huge.
I didn't
Yeah. 70% of new businesses being opened in the UK at the moment are by women.
Oh, yes. Now I get you. Really?
Yeah. Yeah, 70%.
And I think that comes from the desire of having, their own schedule and be able to take care of their children.
Exactly.
This came, you're right, because, when, like you said, when you are employed, you just have to play on their rules.
Mm-hmm.
When you have your own business, you are looking for that freedom to be able to go around your family and in the same time provide for your family, but have time to spend with the children.
Exactly.
Because only raising a child, it's a full-time job.
Mm-hmm. It is. And there's so much compromise that needs to happen.
3 or 5. It's a full-time job, yes. And I always watch your videos, and I really appreciate every time how much consistent you can be to show up every day, despite the fact that you have 5 children, and I know it's a lot going on in the background.
Mm-hmm.
We don't see, but
yes.
there are a lot of things going on because we have a life and we have a full-time job as mothers.
Yeah.
I still have, even if my son is 16, I can say I have a bit of, I could say, more freedom because he's able to do a lot of things by himself. But in the same time, I'm his mother. I want to be part of his life.
Yeah.
There is still a full-time job. And I'm so happy and fortunate to be in this situation when I can do my own schedule. And this is what I create for my life. So, yeah. So 70% from women.
Yeah. It's a huge statistic. And I know that when I originally first came across that, first of all, I was like, wow. And then I was like, actually, that tells you a lot.
Yes.
It tells you a lot about still how inflexible employment is. Here's the other thing that it also tells you, if you really go deep into it, is that also a lot of women find that they keep getting passed over for promotion time and time and time again. Now, I've been in the business industry literally since I left school. And I remember that even as a very young female, I actually had a very good business acumen, but I was often either not spoken to or completely overlooked because I was young and I was female.
Yes, you're right.
And recently.
And because female entrepreneur, not female entrepreneurs, females, women in employment, they are overlooked. They are not promoted in time when they need to. They feel stuck in that job and they don't like it. Because as a woman, you want to be appreciated and you want to go forward in your career. If you don't, you have to find other solutions. And what are other solutions? Starting your own business, which actually is good for business at one point. I am glad this thing happened because it pushed them, to stretch more and find this solution and open a business.
Exactly. I coached a lady for 10, 11 months. And actually, she wasn't an entrepreneur, had no desire to start up her own business. But the reason I was coaching her was much more to do with mindset. She'd been in a company for a long time. She'd been overlooked for directorship 3 years in a row, even though her results way surpassed anybody else's. Mm-hmm. Way surpassed. And in the end, she'd got to the point, she was like, I've given my heart and soul to this company, but I keep getting overlooked because I'm a woman. Because all of the directors were male and they all did the golf club.
All right.
It's
you
like
want someone to be there that is in the same.
Yeah, I mean, we've come a long way. I don't want everyone to think that I am like completely bashing that we haven't moved on at all, because we have. We've made like great strides. But even Aston Martin, Aston Martin have this big news article out at the moment of saying, you know, that they've got their first female managing director. Why is that news? Why do we have to kind of suddenly go, yes, we've got a female, and so we're a really good company? Why do we need a pat on the back for that? Like,
it should be something normal. It shouldn't even be in the news, like it was with the leader of the liberal Democrats. I don't want to speak politics at all, but I just seen it at news that is the first female leader for liberal Democrats.
Yeah.
Why did you put this in the spotlight? I mean, something so normal. We are all persons, and it shouldn't make a difference if we are women or men.
No, it shouldn't make a difference on our sexuality, on the color of our skin. It should all be on merit of what we're able to bring to the table and whether we can do that job effectively. And yet, in society, we're still having these conversations. And I kind of feel like, yes, we've come so far, but there's still such a long way to go. And that's reflected in how many women are trying to set up their own business. But here's another part to this, and again, why I really like to share the message. I see so many incredibly talented women running businesses, and they have such a genius zone in their area of expertise, but that doesn't make them a businesswoman. Because to be an entrepreneur, to be a business person, you have so many different hats to wear. And especially if you're in the startup phase and maybe that you don't have a lot of capital to invest, you're literally doing everything by yourself. And that's where I see people struggle. It's the fact that they are amazing at what they do, but they may not be amazing at running the actual business, because you do need to know a lot of things and you do need different areas of expertise. And I wholeheartedly believe that get the basic understanding, even if it's, I have a thing called cake and cringe. It actually came from Christian Michelson. Your cake is the things that you love to do and you would do no matter what. But your cringe is the stuff that you really hate to do and you find yourself dragging your feet. You'll never be great at cringe. Like, whoever said work on your weaknesses was crazy. Don't work on your weaknesses. Why waste the time? Outsource your weaknesses.
Exactly.
Like we're not meant to be great at everything.
I'm very good at that, and they will be happy to do it.
Exactly. And then they're going to do a much better job. They'll be passionate about it. We weren't meant to be good at everything, but you will find somebody else that is brilliant at the thing that you don't like. So yeah, I don't believe on working on your weaknesses at all. I do believe in having a basic understanding of your business so that you're able to outsource and know what should be done. It's a very dangerous place if you don't know.
Yeah,
exactly. But then work on your area, but yeah, outsource as much as you possibly can. And also make sure that you are sharing yourself, the good sides and the downsides. I got trapped into this in Instagram. I call it the Instagram curse. When Instagram very first came out, and especially in the mum space, because I was doing a lot of things with mum to 5 girls at that point in time as well. Because if you're going to have lots of children, then let's make that a business. Actually, it was more the fact that I was stuck at home because I'd had them so early. I mean, for those of you that aren't aware of me, I've got 5 children. My eldest is 21, but my youngest 4 children are 7, 6, 4, and 3. That's a long time of being pregnant and breastfeeding and being in the confines of your home. So I started another business, and it was Mum to 5 Girls. And in that space, what I was seeing, especially on Instagram, is all of these perfect families. You know, they looked amazing, all in the same outfits. Their house was pristine. It was just like phenomenal. And then I was like, oh my gosh, how do these people keep it together? Like I've had I recently saw one of my very old YouTube videos, and I'm like, yeah, it's great. I'm on like 2 hours of sleep a night now. It's fantastic. I look at that now and I go, 2 hours, that's insane. Like, how do you keep that together? But you do, because that's the situation that you're in. But getting caught in this Instagram trap was just thinking that everybody else had it together, and actually that took its toll. So I went through doing a series where I would take the pristine picture because I had all the girls and they looked really cute. And then I would take a picture of the other side of the room because I'd literally just like sideswiped my desk and moved all the rubbish to the other side because I wanted people to see the reality.
Yeah, because this is the reality.
Exactly. And I'm very much like that in business now. Like, I share the struggles as well as the accomplishments and the time to celebrate. And I also share the strategies, and I also share the ones that work. And I also share, you know, a bit like you about social media, that it's not about being in every single place. You know, be in a couple of places and do it well.
Exactly.
Because if you haven't done that, then none of it's going to work really well. So I think that those things are important.
It's easy for big gurus to say that you have to be everywhere. Because when I shared about this um, this thing that you just mentioned before about being on one platform and make it work and then move to the other one, I had few people coming back to me and say, oh, have you heard of Gary V? Because actually he is promoting another advice, that you have to be present on all the social media. Well, yes, I know. I absolutely heard about him. I know who he is and I know what he promotes. But that doesn't mean we all have to be like that. Because
No.
he have an army of people behind that can transform his content from one to another.
Mm-hmm. And this is where your outsourcing becomes so incredibly important, but that's not where you start.
But when you start, you take one platform, the one that it's more appropriate for the type of business that you do, make that work, and from there you can go to the next one. This is what I believe, and this is how But
and I think it's also important to know that every platform is different. So you can't just go and spray everything.
No, it's different. The content, the format is different.
Exactly.
The type of content that you need to share is different from LinkedIn to Facebook. You can't go in LinkedIn with the same type of content like you go on Facebook. No. So that's why it's so time consuming. Mm-hmm. You can convert, but it's time consuming. And like you said, if you wear too many hats, it's not going to benefit.
No, because here's the most important thing to know. And that's that no matter what you do, it's about providing a message, not your message per se. It's about the message that the other person needs to hear. You don't have the same people on every platform. So first of all, yes, you can share, and you can, and I'm a very big advocate for repurposing, but over time. Exactly. As in, don't just do one post and think that that's it. You never touch that subject again, because people don't always see it. So you don't have to put pressure on yourself to always come up with something new. So that's the first thing. But the second thing is you've always got to think about the person that you want to speak to. See, we can use the example of, let's say that you've got 5 friends and you've had a really hard day. So you want to talk about it. So you call each of the 5 friends. I can guarantee that the way that you present what's happened in your day will be different each time, because your friend is different. You know that one of them is probably going to react better to this part of the story that you're going to relay, and the other person will be this bit, and you'll probably even change your tone.
Yes, you're right.
Social media is no different. You do generalize, of course you do, because you pick a group of people that have similarities, but that group of people is not going to be the same on one platform to another, because we naturally gravitate to different things. I mean, Instagram is extremely visual. It does have a younger audience, although the biggest area that's growing in Instagram at the moment is actually only over 55s. But I think that's because it's caught on, and you've now got grandparents, because they want to see the pictures of the kids and that type of thing. And it has very much moved on from just taking a picture of your dinner.
Yeah.
Which is really, really good to see. But the way that you present the information that you want to share, the message, so that the person that you're trying to get to understands, is going to be very different than how you put it on Facebook. And that's the part to remember. It's not about what you're sharing. It's about what the other person is receiving. That, I believe, is the big
way they see it through their glasses.
Yes, absolutely. And if you can't relay a message so that it really inspires, empowers, helps the other person, you need to work on your messaging, because it's not doing the right thing.
Mm-hmm. I understand. What can I say? Everything was so inspiring today, and we can go for hours.
I do have that effect, so yes.
I would like to conclude with one advice that you can give to our audience, to other women who are doing their business around their personal brand. One thing that can help them moving forward.
Yeah, so I'm going to be a little bit sneaky and say that there's actually 2, but they're very, very related. The first is to genuinely, and you'll have heard it before, it's a bit of a cliche, but genuinely be yourself. But by being yourself, I really mean share the good, the bad, and the ugly. Not just who your personality is, but almost document the journey, because people are interested in you. And within that, to always remember that everything is just a conversation. So if it's just a conversation, there doesn't need to be any anxiety. There doesn't need to be any pressure behind it. It's just a conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So one, be yourself and show
Yes.
all the aspects and all the areas, and be genuine, because people are
Yeah.
in you if you are the face of your business, and everything is a conversation, so no pressure.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's amazing. And I'm sure even if it, like you said, there are things that we probably hear before, but I think if we hear it again and again and again, we will start taking seriously. So
yeah, I think if you look at the most successful people at the moment, you'll notice that one, well, there are different trends, but one is that authenticity shines through and through, the way throughout. And two, they're no different. If you meet them on stage, if you meet them or hear them on social media, if you meet them face to face, they're the same person.
yes.
You know, if you ever come across somebody who is different on stage or on social media and they're different in person, then their message is not genuine.
And they will not be successful, actually.
No, because
success come when you are genuine, and people will see you as the same person when you are on social media, when they meet you on the street. That's
exactly.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think that's a big key factor for you, recognizing, because there is a lot of noise in our space, you know, but I think that that's a key factor in recognizing who genuinely is successful and who to listen to versus who not to.
Exactly.
And the other part to always remember is also that don't take advice from somebody who hasn't got to where you want to be. You don't go to your overweight friend for weight loss advice. You don't go to your broke friend for financial advice. So make sure that people have really genuinely walked the walk.
Exactly.
Yes.
Genuinely have the experience, and they can share from their experience, their client's experience. So they really went through that journey.
Yeah, definitely.
That's the thing. So Traci, tell us where people can find you.
Yeah, so you can find me under Traci Cornelius. Traci is Traci, and Cornelius is Cornelius. If you search me anywhere, I kind of come up. On Facebook.
I'm going to put a link in the comments once I'm posting this.
Brilliant. So yeah, I've got tracicornelius.com. You'll see me all over social media, and you can also tune into Women Rock in Business podcast as well, which is dedicated to obviously female entrepreneurs. So yeah, search me and you will find me. But if you do, please make sure that you mention Michaela, because it would be really nice to know that we've connected in this way.
Yes, that will be nice to know. Thank you so much for being here with me. Thank you so much. It's been very, very helpful, and I think your story is so inspiring, and I can't wait to share it.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate you being here, and it's been great to talk to everybody. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Traci. Thank you for watching and listening. I invite you now to join the You in the Spotlight community, the free Facebook group, where you will be able to meet with the other guests. You will be able to meet other women who are doing the same thing, who are building their business around their personal brand, and you will find there a lot of strategies on how to get more reach and how to convert your followers. Go and join, and see you there.